That needs fixed. This all needs fixed. All that needs fixed. So it's just gone kind of crazily windy, so I'm hoping you can't hear it too much. Anyway, I figured today it would be kind of a good opportunity to show you a few of the projects that we've got lined up for 2023. So for those of you who don't know, we spent about a year renovating this house and then about another year building the extension and everything else, and obviously we've built the studio room and all that sort of stuff. But we're pretty much really at a blank canvas when it comes to doing things like the garden and a lot of the outdoor work, because that's really not been high priority in the scheme of things. So I think what I'll do is I'll just show you some of the projects that we've got lined up. We'll not necessarily be doing them all this year, but you know, some of them are more pressing than others. We'll kind of start at the bottom of the garden here, and I'll show you some of the things that we're thinking about and maybe some of your input as to what you think we should do with these kind of spaces, because this is quite a big space down here and this is only a small fraction of this garden that we're very lucky to have. So we've already planted some structural plants, but nowhere near enough. We've got like a little plum tree here, has just started to come into bud over on this side. We've got my favourite rhododendron over on that side that is starting to grow quite well, but unfortunately the one that I've planted in this corner is not doing quite as well. But anyway, we'll talk about plants maybe a little bit later on. I think what we need to do is get some of the structural things correct first, because one of the problems that we've got is that, for example, over on this side, which is the sunny side of the garden, I've got a whole load of sheds and wood storage and things. And then over on the shady side of the garden, at the minute, there's not very much. There's a lot of like temporary stuff like building materials, leftover building materials that we need to find a home for. But the general kind of thing that we're trying to keep at the back of our mind is that that is the shady side, that is the sunny side, although the sun does kind of track across kind of that away. So you do get some nice evening sun sometimes sitting here at the bottom of the garden where it just sets over the top of the house at that end. But generally speaking, shady side, sunny side. So my general thinking over on this side, I don't mind the log store because I think log stores look quite pretty, but big ugly plastic sheds like this, I don't think they should be on the sunny side of the garden. It makes more sense to put those over on the shady side and maybe free up this area here. We do want to fit a greenhouse somewhere. Haven't quite decided where a greenhouse is going to go yet. And we've got crazy amounts of leftover glass from the extension, which I was hoping to make a greenhouse out of. I think realistically, that's going to take too long. I think we might have to just buy a normal greenhouse for now. Maybe that can be a project for later down the line. I'm not quite sure yet. Either way, we need to put a greenhouse somewhere. Probably makes sense having a greenhouse on the sunnier side of the garden, I think. Well, there's the sun's out now, kind of proving my point. Either way, these need to go. They're full of just kind of, again, just junk, you know, kind of spare kindling, my old workbench, old shelving, bits and pieces, spare bits of building material. We need them, don't get us wrong, but they don't need to be over on the sunny side of the garden. I'm also thinking as well that this original path can probably go a journey as well. This is all original to the house when it was probably first built, but it's very, very thin concrete. There's only a couple of strips of this original concrete path left, so we'll probably get rid of that. And as I say, maybe either a sitting area or greenhouse over on this side. What do you think? I think my only slight concern with putting the greenhouse down there is obviously what happens to the view from the studio room. I mean, obviously at the minute the view is of a giant trampoline, but forget about that for a second. Imagine that's a greenhouse instead. A greenhouse is much more permanent. Is that going to be problematic? I don't really think it is, because it'll be a fair distance away from here. It'll be nowhere near as big as the trampoline. And worst case scenario, we could always kind of plant something on this side of the greenhouse just to kind of soften it a little bit. Obviously the trampoline won't be staying forever. I reckon that's got another year of life left in it before our youngest just isn't interested in it anymore. I don't know, we'll see. Sometimes it comes back to life. Nugget, if you fall in the river, I've got you on camera. That tree is literally overhanging the river. Probably a bad idea, but they love playing in it. Over on this side, this is a real challenge. We've got, as I say, a lot of leftover building materials that we haven't quite worked out what to do with yet. Some of it's going to go a journey. Some of it's going to be used to build things like compost heap at the bottom there. As I say, we need to kind of work out where the compost heap's going. But bear in mind, this is the shady side of the garden. So if we're going to have sheds anywhere, it makes sense that sheds go on this side, not on the sunny side. So I think we need to clear some space over here and get those sheds moved. It just makes no sense whatsoever that we've got those plastic sheds over on that side. So yeah, tidying up this is going to be a bit of a challenge. And by the way, just to kind of illustrate my point about the evening sun, this is now evening time, and as you can see, it's kind of bathed in sunlight down the bottom here, which neatly leads me on to what are we doing with this section kind of down by the stream. And thankfully this is kind of the easiest bit, because the answer is we're not doing anything with this bit down here, because in springtime this is just full of bluebells. We've already got the snowdrops through at the minute, but we just want this to be kind of the most natural area of the garden, and we don't really want to put any decking or anything structural down here. We'll keep it tidy, we'll keep on top of it, maybe trim back some of the dead trees just to avoid branches falling on top of people and things like that. We've got the snowberries here, they need to be kept on top of because they generally just get a little bit out of control. But other than that, there's really not very much to do down here at all. Just basically keeping it tidy, keeping on top of all the blackberries and everything else that just tend to get a little bit out of control. But as I say, try not to trip up and fall in the river. It's not an area that we need to worry about too much, and frankly, we love the fact that this is kind of a natural part of the garden. So generally speaking, we're leaving this bit alone. So what have we got job-wise so far that you can expect coming up on the channel very soon on videos? Well, we need to get all this tidied up, cleared out, clear some space to get the plastic sheds moved over here. We also need to come up with a creative way of storing all the leftover building materials that doesn't look like the remnants of a landfill site. We've got at least 2 compost heaps to build. This seems like the perfect place for compost heaps. Shady side, it's not in anyone's road, and this is all of our compost just from the first couple of years. Look at all this beautiful compost here, but as I say, we need some proper bins so that we've got one for 1 year, one for the following year, so one can be kind of festering away. So yes, you can expect a video all about the building of compost heaps over here. Working our way towards the house, really that's it for this bottom bit. Nothing else particularly to worry about at the minute. But the next bit is this section over here. Because useful though that shed is, it's ugly. This is kind of our main view from the house, from the big bifold doors, and you really don't want to be looking at the side of this shed. So we did plant a bunch of pyracantha along here, because pyracantha can grow into great big kind of hedgy bushes. Unfortunately, one of them just didn't survive, and these two, they're all right, but they're not exactly disguising the shed, are they? Now, given time, these potentially will get quite big, but we've still got this gap in the middle here, and I don't know if I can be bothered waiting 5+ years for these to get big enough so you can't see the shed anymore. So what I'm vaguely thinking now is we'll transplant these, put them somewhere else, and we'll plant some bigger kind of hedging material along here. We've got some spare privet hedges anyway, so we could just put a few, 5 privet along here or something, and that should do a good job of just screening the shed. We want to make sure it obviously stops far enough along that it doesn't obscure the view of the bottom of the garden. But as I say, this great big expanse of, I'm not even going to call it wood, needs to go. Over on this side we have got another cherry tree. Sorry, that wasn't a plum tree. And we've got lots of laurel already down here. These laurel will get massive, just need to give it a couple of years. Not too bothered about that. We have got a yew and a dead yew and even more dead yew. I still need to connect the water butt up on the studio room at the minute. As you can see, the downpipe just goes onto this kind of temporary bit of guttering to get the water kind of going away from the building. Probably worth making a little video about that, connecting this up to the water. But heading up this way, we do have some clematis and things planted to try and disguise this giant fence. And we do obviously have the old apple tree here. That'll be staying for now. And we've got plenty of stuff planted here. These will all get quite big. But we could do with some more structural things at the back. Any ideas? More laurel? A few people posted some really good ideas on the Instagram. Thank you very much, but keep those coming. Gosforth Handyman on Instagram or Gosforth Andy on Twitter. But as I say, anything we can do all the way along this side. Ideas on a postcard, please. It's getting really windy again, so I'm going to kind of hide in here. And I can tell you all about decking, because we've got a lot of decking to put in over this area. That's best part of 40 square metres of decking that needs to go out there, covering up all of the temporary gravel that were put down before Christmas. So watch this space. There will be several videos all about our decking project. Coming around this side, we've got the remnants. Another bit of old concrete path. We might as well get rid of this. It's quite handy having it at the moment, just giving us a bit of a route for wheelbarrows getting in and out of the bottom end of the garden. But again, it's very thin concrete and most of it's broken anyway. So I think we can get rid of that. Probably plant up this border a little bit, tidy that up. And then if we work our way down this side, obviously decking over there. But again, all of this gravel down this side was only really a stopgap temporary measure. This was never intended as a permanent solution. So long term, I think what we'd like to do is maybe at least partially pave this. The biggest problem with the gravel is trying to get the lawnmower and wheelbarrows and things like that. It just makes a bit of a mess. It's a bit of a nightmare trying to wheel things over a gravelled surface like this. So maybe part gravel, part paved or something. I don't know. What do you reckon? I really quite like Charlie D.I. White's video that he did of the gravel that's kind of, I nearly fell over there, did you notice that? The gravel that's kind of encapsulated in the plastic mesh. That looked really good, and that would potentially solve the problem of things sinking down into the gravel. So maybe we'll do something like that. And what I was saying before, this, for best part of a year now, has been our temporary kind of doorstop, just in case that swings open and hits the wall. So we need some sort of doorstop thing, a stick with a bit of rubber on. Probably doesn't really warrant a video, that. There's not much needs done in the garage, to be honest, which I'm quite amazed by, but let's head through into the house because there's a lot going on in here. So if you remember back to when we first started this entire project, this was the old kitchen, but it's now going to become a kind of pantry, utility, downstairs loo, all that sort of thing is going to be in this space. But there's a few things that we need to get on with pretty pronto. Sorry, washing machine's on at the minute. Can I pause that? So probably the main thing here that needs sorted is that all of this needs boxed in. We deliberately left it kind of all uncovered because we knew there was electrics going in for all sorts of things around the house, so there was no point in making life awkward for the electrician. But now that all the electrical work is done, we're ready to box this in. So we need effectively a little cabinet at the bottom here with a door on, box everything, make it all look nice. We do still need to do all permanent flooring in here as well. We can't do skirtings or anything like that until the permanent flooring is down. So that's a project all coming up. So watch this space. Coming through into the downstairs hallway. And yes, most of this is completely finished, apart from this corner, which if you remember, this is kind of internet corner over here. All of our structured cabling comes back to here. And as you can see, it's just a bit of a nightmare of bags and coats and everything that just gets chucked here because we've got nowhere else to put it at the minute until we get the kind of pantry utility thing done. So that is definitely going to be a project coming later down the line, some sort of cabinet boxing thing down here and some sort of way of hiding all of these coats and jackets and scarves and things. Still got some trim to put up at the top of the door there because we ran out of trim. Don't think that warrants a video. And coming through into what was our temporary kind of downstairs bedroom thing, which is kind of our study cum office, darts room. We haven't tackled this room at all yet, so all of this needs done. We still haven't decided what we're doing flooring wise. Need to tidy up this fireplace. I did build a kind of dartboard surround, didn't really warrant a video. I might chuck some pictures on Instagram of the building of that if I can find some. But yes, watch this space. When we eventually get round to sorting this room out, I'm sure there'll be a few vids about that as well. And along with videos about all of that stuff, we've still got a couple of videos to finish off the extension series, namely some of the best and worst tools that we ended up either using or hiring or buying, and why we decided to buy some stuff over hiring stuff. Video all about that. Video coming up very soon as well about our builder nightmare and how to find a good builder as well. Along with that, for our members who follow what we're doing on the member zone, you can see our next renovation project that we're almost finished doing now, but there's a whole mini series of videos over on the member zone about, it's effectively kind of a 20-year-old new build renovation. Kind of a good illustration of, you know, you look at a new build house and you think, oh well, there'll be nothing to do on that. And I hate to tell you, but if it's a 20-year-old house, it's probably going to need a bit of a refresh. I don't really want everything on this channel to be about renovation projects, so we figured we'd keep that one just for the members zone, members.gosforthhandyman.com, and you can follow along on that project over there. Everything from ripping out an old kitchen to trying to fit a new kitchen into a place where an old kitchen kind of was, and everything being non-standard sizes, my attempts at tiling, not to mention the absolute disaster we had when we first picked up the keys to that property. So yes, if you do want to watch another renovation series, members.gosforthhandyman.com. And the nice thing about that being over on the member zone is that we're not beholden to the algorithm. We can make much longer and more detailed videos that we can't really put on YouTube, because YouTube just kind of penalizes the entire channel if I make long videos these days. I did want to start the tiling from this edge so that we've got like full tiles going up this edge and then work that away, but we could end up in a situation where we end up with a really awkward join at the bottom there towards the left hand side, and that might end up looking quite odd. So do let me know your thoughts on all of the garden stuff that I've mentioned, because we will genuinely take it all into account when we're kind of designing what we're going to be doing. There's loads of other like structural elements that we need to sort out, paths and like borders and things like that. There is certainly plenty to keep us busy for the foreseeable future. Oh, and I nearly forgot, we've got a video coming up about our central heating. Did we make a mistake getting a gas boiler? Well, we'll tell you all about that very soon. For now, folks, don't forget to hit subscribe if you're new to the channel. I would say probably 80% of people who watch this channel haven't clicked the subscribe button yet. So do please hit the subscribe button. Even if you don't use it, hit the subscribe button and the little bell notification thing, and you will definitely get at least 10 Gosforth Handyman points. For now, folks, I hope you've enjoyed this little update video. Loads and loads to come on the channel. Take care, folks, look after each other, be nice to each other, and we shall see you next time. Tatty bye.